Hey everyone, this is Thomas with Bentwood Ring Supplies. Today I'm going to walk you through building our August 2025 subscription box ring, Leviathan. In your box you'll get 1 titanium clamshell ring blank, 5 grams of Megalodon tooth, 1 gram of OP50 Sleepy Blue Opal, 10 grams of Twilight Sky glow powder, plus a free gift, our Mandrel stand and a 6-pack of our ring Mandrels. Aside from the items in the box, you'll need to acquire some black acrylic paint, a pointed tool to manipulate the inlay materials, sandpaper, polishing paper or high grit sandpaper, CA glue, and your finish of choice. Our first order of business is the background. I want full coverage of the channel and inside walls, so I'm brushing in a generous coat of black acrylic paint. And yeah, it's going to get messy, that's okay. The paint needs to stay wet for the next step. As soon as I'm satisfied with how well I've painted the channel, I'm going to wipe the outside of the ring down with a paper towel and then get our glow powder, which I have ready to pour in one of our tapper lids. I'm going to pour it into the channel, ignoring how much goes in and opting to make sure I get it absolutely everywhere. The goal here is to make sure we get as much glow powder as possible to stick to our wet paint. I'll go all the way around, pouring and using my finger to pack the powder into the channel. Once we've gone all the way around the channel with our glow powder, I'll just tap the ring mandrel in the ring enough to let the excess powder fall down into our mandrel stand basin. Now we have a finely coated layer of glow powder inside our ring that we're going to let fully dry before moving to our next step. This next step is arguably the more difficult part of this project. Due to the shape of this ring blank, we're going to have to be very intentional and try to make sure all of our inlay materials rest below the shoulders of the channel, meaning that nothing should protrude above the surface of the outside of the ring. In order to make this work, I like to use smaller materials. Our channel depth as a standard is approximately 1.2 millimeters, so I like to use pieces that are 1 millimeter or smaller. The process I'll use for this ring is an alternating pattern of our inlay materials, but you're welcome to do what feels right for you and add materials in whichever way is most pleasing. I've started with our crushed Megalodon tooth and poured a small amount into the channel. I'm using this new tool of ours called an inlay adjuster to move the material around and make sure it's resting neatly beneath the inlay shoulders. This thing is glue resistant, so it's very reusable for this type of job. I'm tapping the ring mandrel often to settle the material, and I'm removing pieces that are either too big or just don't seem to be settling in well. I'm not extremely concerned about the density of the inlay because I want some of our glow powder background to shine through later. I just want to ensure that as much of our inlay as possible isn't protruding above the surface. I'll show you later why it's so important. So I'm just alternating Meg tooth and opal back and forth, using just enough glue plus activator to hold it down without causing a mess. A single drop is enough in most cases. I'm just systematically working my way around the ring step by step, paying very close attention to the depth of the material. There's a lot of this inlay left to do, so I'm going to speed this next part of the video up a little bit. Now that we're done with the inlay, it's time to inspect our work and find any parts of the inlay that are protruding beyond the surface of the ring. We're going to need to address those. So we've got a nice up-close view of the ring after it's been inlaid, and I'm pointing out the issues that we're going to need to address with pieces that are left protruded above the top of the ring. There are many different ways to deal with this, but in this video we're going to be addressing just the one that I tend to use. So in order to deal with these high spots, I'm using a pointed tool, and this is just a soldering pick. It's a very fine pointed titanium tool. So anything with a fine metal tip will do in this case, and even a larger tipped tool can work. We just want to be very careful not to scratch the outside of our ring. I'll find the protruding piece that I want to address, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the pointed end of the tool just directly up against it and apply gentle pressure while just moving the tool left and right. And what this does, it'll either break the top off of that piece of inlay, or it will pull the whole inlay out of the channel, and we'll probably have to go back and repair that afterward. But we absolutely cannot have any of the material sticking out above the ring, because then it would be protruding through the finish. So I'll just work my way around the ring, being careful not to scratch the outside of the band, and my goal is to simply remove anything that would interfere with our finish coat. This is why it's so important to focus on material height when you're placing your inlay. Had I been a little more diligent, I might not have had to correct so many high spots. After all of our corrections and repairs are done, it's finally time to apply our finish coat. I'm going to be using Mercury Thin Flex CA as our fill coat because it's more impact resistant, but you can use whatever CA you prefer. You can even use UV resin. It really is just a matter of preference as to what finish you want to use. It's pretty standard operations from here. I'll add a few drops of CA, let it rotate and disperse around the ring. Then I'll use a paper towel to remove the excess CA that's collected at the bottom of the ring and spray it gently with Mercury Accelerator, or whichever brand you are using. I'll do this several times until the CA has completely filled the channel and is proud of the surface of the ring. I want to make sure there's an excess of material here so I can sand it back to flush with the ring in our next step. This process took me about 10 minutes. The wider a channel is, and the more CA it requires to fill it, the longer it will take, so this 2mm channel took about 10 minutes. Again, I'm going to speed this part of the video up. It's just me putting glue on the ring and letting it cure, so there's not much action here. Now it's time for sanding and polishing. If you've seen any of our other videos, you know this is pretty standard. We're starting with 120 grit sandpaper and working our way through 240, 320, and 400 grit. I'll spend most of my time on 400 grit. One thing to note with this particular ring blank is that the shape is going to wear out your sandpaper a little faster than usual. Keep at it and exchange for a new piece of sandpaper if necessary. This is particularly important if you're using Zona polishing paper. I wore out a few pieces way faster than I expected to. Since this blank is pretty outside of the ordinary, I found that doing a bit of manual cross-sanding really helped get a good polish on this blank. I started around 320 or 400 grit after I had removed all of the excess CA on the ring, and gently sanded the ring blank left to right. Do this after each new grit, including Zona paper, or whichever polishing system you prefer. It can really improve your final result. Lastly, I like to use the last 2 or 3 grits of our diamond polishing paste. I do this as a way to correct any lingering scratches, and it also helps to make the polish across the entire ring more uniform. Also, since this ring is already pre-polished on the inside and edges, I'm not going to go over how I would polish those more, but if you find they're not up to par, I'd recommend the following methods. I personally would probably use a rotary tool with a felt buffing wheel and our diamond polishing paste. It's done well for me in the past. Or if you have a different buffing system like buffing wheels, those would also work very well. Okay, our ring is done and it looks fantastic. I hope this video sets you up for success with yours, and if you're not already subscribed, now's the time. This ring is part of our August 2025 box, and there's a new design every month, complete with materials, tools, and step-by-step support. You can grab yours at bentwoodringsupplies.com. And if you'd rather just wear this one instead of making it, I've got finished Leviathan rings over at foremanforgedesigns.com. All links below. Once again, thank you everyone for your support. I'll see you in the next one.